One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question. Our guest today is Dave Hart. Dave spent a long time in college athletics. He was the athletics director at East Carolina, down at Florida State, and retired at Tennessee. Spent almost 35 years in college athletics. Greetings, Dave. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Ty. It's good to be with you.
Now, Dave, you started off as assistant athletic director for marketing. Probably prior to that being an actual position in the industry. You spent 4 or 5 years in those assistant and associate positions before you became an AD and spent most of your career as an athletic director in leadership positions. So you had to make a lot of tough decisions. And the reason why I have you on today, I want to know if you can tell us from your wide lens of experience and perspective. Sometimes you have to have courage and the perspective of you in your career, from what I heard from a lot of people in doing my research, is that you had courage to make tough decisions as an athletic director. Can you tell us about that the courage, or sometimes it's phrased as values-based decisions, when you have to make a decision that a lot of people may not agree with, but you have to do it because you're the leader of the ship. Can you give us a little insight on courage?
Sure, Ty. I believe every leader, regardless of the organization or corporation or other entities which he or she may be leading, must make tough decisions. That's at the core, in my opinion, of moving programs forward. And organizations, that's how they grow, is someone is leading with courage. And listen, leading with courage, Ty, is hard. I think anybody in that role would say that was an accurate statement. Now, those decisions, those tough decisions, they could be personnel related. They could be financially driven decisions. And oftentimes, and you mentioned it, those decisions are values-based decisions. And more times than not, and you also alluded to this, those decisions can be unpopular at times and could result in conflicting levels of reaction. But I think that I've been blessed to have worked with numerous individuals during my career who have moved on into leadership roles, not only within athletics administration, but within business and industry sectors. And the most commonly asked question, if I could say there was a one common thread, as they began that venture, they have asked me, what can I expect to be immediately different in this leadership role? What do you think will be the biggest challenge or the biggest difference I'll find in that new role? And my answer is always the same. To this point, you have served in a really valuable role as a trusted confidant who has listened. You've observed, you've gathered pertinent data, and you've made suggestions to the organization's leader on what the final decision that he or she might have to make should be. Now, that decision is yours to make. So you've gone from here's what I think, here are some facts, so on and so forth, and you leave the room, and that conversation is much appreciated. Now, you're in a chair where you have to make the decisions, many of which will be tough decisions, and you have to make those in the best of times, and you have to make them in the worst of times. For me, Ty, one of the core values is I've always believed in student-athlete-centered programs. And I think anywhere I've been, those student-athletes, many of them who have families of their own now and are in secure jobs, and they still reach out and contact me, and they often reference, and nothing's more gratifying than this, they often reference how appreciative they are of being in a true student-athlete centered athletics program. So I think, again, all of that, and I say all of that to say this, they were always at the core of some of those tough decisions. How does it impact the student athletes? How does it impact them? Are we doing what's best for the student athletes first and foremost? And, my father always used to tell me that, people are your most important commodity, and you have to prioritize making them feel valued. That's how good cultures are built. Everybody talks about culture. I'm not sure everybody can truly define it, but that's how cultures are built. And it's really difficult for people to have to work around poor leadership. They need a leader. They need someone they can trust. The great leaders, in my opinion, and some of those have been my mentors for my entire career, the great leaders stand strong in the face of adversity and crisis. That's when you find out about people. It's like the old country song, if you want to know the difference between a coward and a hero, watch which way they run. So, leaders have to stand strong in the face of adversity. And at the end of the day, tough decisions they're not made by casting a ballot. They're made by strong leaders, people who do indeed lead with courage.
Right. Well, I've often wondered, someone like you who spent almost 35 years in a leadership position, you've seen the changes in college athletics when you talk about revenue, right, and the bottom line. And money has a way of eschewing people's ability to make decisions based on the things that they truly care about before money got involved. As things progressed, how were you able to continue to make tough decisions with that core value in mind? What's best for the student athlete?
Well, I think it became part of my fiber. To be a leader, you've got to have had some really good mentors. And I say this to young people in the profession all the time, because their leadership ability, their value-based decisions rub off on you, because you watch them closely, you admire them. They have the courage to tell you, you're going down the wrong path there. That's not who you are. Good mentors are extremely meaningful in the growth of young leaders. And one of the things I learned from one of those mentors is, to be a good leader, you need to be a good listener. And what I have observed over the years, Ty, good listeners are in short commodity. I think listening is the unicorn of communication. Good leaders are good listeners. They take things from various people, and they understand how to build trust. Without trust, you don't have much traction on anything you want to do. You can go all the way back to Napoleon, and he summarized the leadership very concisely, because he said a leader is a dealer in hope. And there's a whole lot to that. There's a whole lot to what he said many, many years ago.
And that's part one of our conversation with Dave Hart, Special Advisor to Athletics at East Carolina University. And this is Ty Brown with One Question, signing off. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.